on earth. I'd like to welcome you to the Monday version of the Thought for the Day. And I have the baptismal font here, and I have a reason for that. Had a couple baptisms yesterday, and it kind of fits into what I was thinking about this morning. But first of all, I just on a personal note, today's the birthday of Peggy's late husband, Mike Sullivan. And I'm not sure how many of you had a chance to get to know Mike. And Mike died too young. But one of the things about Mike is he was such a patriot. He just loved his country and loved the flag. He did have a son who was killed in battle in Iraq. But Mike taught me a lot about respect for our country and what it means to be a patriot. And he was quiet and humble, and yet he wore his patriotism because he just believed in what our country stands for. And the flag, the spirit. And so I want to wish Mike a happy heavenly birthday and thank you for the lessons about patriotism and what it means to just be a patriot and a believer in our country. Thanks for that lesson, Mike. You know, what's happening in Ukraine, it's like Russia has reached a new low. You know, it's like Armageddon and all the innocent people that are dying, and just citizens and kids, and bombing places where people seek refuge. And you know, you look at that, and we almost have to look at it because it's important to know what's going on. But at the same time, it just it's heart-wrenching to see innocent people suffer. It's heart-wrenching to see the face of evil and the power of hatred. And yet, in the middle of all that, you know, we gather together in the hope and the goodness that the Spirit brings us. Yesterday, after worship, I had a couple baptisms. And I've been thinking about baptism a lot, and I have the baptismal picture here. And you know, baptism is a very simple ceremony, and sometimes it's a ceremony that we so often just take for granted. And yet baptism is a symbol of unconditional love and acceptance. And as I stood in here with these families yesterday after church and baptized their young children, I saw that as a contrast to what's happening to the young kids in Ukraine. Because, you know, we cherish life. You know, we cherish every moment. And when a child is baptized, it's kind of a symbol that telling that child and their families that no matter what happens in their journey, that the good Lord is going to walk with them. And, you know, baptism is not about being baptized Lutheran or Catholic or any denomination, because when a child is baptized, especially a baby, that person has no say in it. Someday they're going to decide what religion to be. But baptism it's a universal acceptance of a little boy or a little girl as a human being. And baptism knows no label, knows no denomination. It's simply a message of acceptance and a message of goodness. Sometimes, you know, I was watching the news, and they had a piece about what's going on in Poland. And you know, Poland is really an inspiration. You know, they're accepting all these people on the border, and they were talking about how in some parts of Poland they're accepting these families and they're turning them into a community. In fact, they had the kids that are basically homeless, and they kind of made them into a choir, and they were singing the Ukrainian national anthem. And you could just see the smile on the kids' faces and the parents' faces, because the kids had a moment of hope and a moment of goodness. It was like in the darkness of their journey, there was a light that was shining because of the music and the acceptance. And I guess what I'm hoping is that no matter what happens, that in some small measure, we can be a light unto others. Which brings me to the simple verse for today in the 4th chapter of Matthew, where it says, "The people who have sat in darkness have seen a great light." Way back when Jesus was born, that was the message. That people who had sat in the darkness, people who had been in captivity, that maybe the birth of Jesus would bring them the message of light and hope. And I know that you and me, we can't change the world. We can't stop the fighting, and we can't stop the hate. But in our little corner of the kingdom, in your house, in our church, at your school, in your neighborhood, wherever it is that your travels take you, we can be a light in the darkness unto others. And if we can be a light into the darkness of just one other person, somehow it gives us that message of hope. It helps us understand that there are no strangers, that one act of kindness has the power to change the world of one other person. So as we share this journey together, and my gosh, it's been 2 years since we started doing the Thought for the Day, I think if I've learned one thing, I've learned that we walk this journey together. And the power of prayer, well, the sign says guts in prayer. When I think of the people of Ukraine, their president, I think of the word guts, because it just takes guts to look evil in the face and continue to stand your ground. And in the middle of having guts, in the middle of that inner fortitude to fight back and to make sure and not give up, there is the power of prayer. Knowing that no matter what, that higher power walks with us every step of the way. God bless each one of you. It's good to talk to you, and I look forward to talking to you again on Wednesday. Thanks for listening.